Hello ladies and gentlemen. Last week on my channel people seemed to really enjoy hearing me talk about the Panasonic 3DO M2, the cancelled console that was set to be the sequel system to the original 3DO. So to continue last week's popular trend, this week I'm going to talk about another cancelled console. However, this time it's going to be one from Sega. In order to get the context around this story, we first have to look at the amazing Sega Saturn, a platform I constantly praise on this channel. At first, the words Sega Saturn may appear as quite a random naming choice for a console. However, there is some logic to this madness. Back in the 90s, when Sega were developing their plethora of platforms, they would name each project after one of the planets. For example, Project Mars went on to become the Sega 32X, and Project Saturn went on to become the Sega Saturn. These are two examples of Sega platforms that actually made it to retail and can still be found in a number of homes today. However, did you know there are a series of Sega platforms that were completely cancelled altogether instead? Today we are going to be looking at Project Neptune, the development of a cancelled system known as the Sega Neptune. The Sega Neptune was essentially going to be a standalone Sega 32X system, which could also play Sega Mega Drive games, which would have been an awesome system to own today, to be fair, when you consider what a pain in the arse setting up a 32X is. This would have also been great for people at the time as well, who wanted to get into the 32X, who never already owned a Mega Drive. Imagine how expensive it would have been to procure both a brand new Mega Drive and the 32X simultaneously. This would have vastly reduced the barrier of entry to being able to play games within the 32X's library. Apparently there were plans in place for this system to receive its own variant of the Mega CD add-on too, but in my opinion this would have brought us back to square one with the pricing problems. Anyway, before we move on any further, let's dive in and read a couple of articles that were written around the time of this obscure cancelled platform's development. This article, entitled Neptune and Saturn Go Into Orbit, reads, "Watch the skies, two new Sega consoles will soon be hove into view, taking gameplay into a new dimension." The first, still known only as Project Neptune, is the expected combination of the Mega Drive and Mega Drive 32X in one sleek looking new box. No more sinister black mushroom sticking out of the top of your Mega Drive. Our pals at Sega are keeping quiet about the final name of the new unit. It's called the Genesis 32X system in the US. No exact release date yet either, but expected around the autumn, along with an amazing new 32X version of Virtua Fighter. Price for the Neptune should be under £200 for the base unit, although special bundle packs may take it a bit higher. The Neptune will be able to run all current Mega Drive carts as well as the expanding range of 32X games. Running rings around the Neptune is Sega's much heralded new super system, the Saturn. The Sega Saturn sports a nifty new black livery for the UK market, as opposed to the grey case of the Japanese model, and should be hitting shops around the UK in September. Start saving those pennies now because it would cost around £400. The Saturn will only run CD-ROM based software, produced especially for it. The cartridge slot shown in the picture on this page is only for special RAM cards that can be used to save game moves, levels, etc. STC will be taking a closer look at the Neptune and the Saturn nearer their release dates. In the meantime, just keep watching those Sega stars. So, from reading this British article regarding the platform, they didn't sound too high on it, especially when you take into account that they stated the Saturn will run rings around its sister console. So, let's see what an American source had to say. This article, entitled Sega Unveils Genesis 32X System and a Hybrid of both the 16 and 32-bit worlds. Sega of America announced plans to launch a standalone unit that combines the Genesis with its 32-bit add-on component, Genesis 32X, named the Genesis 32X system. This new sleek, ergonomically designed combination unit is the first system to integrate both 16 and 32-bit technology for less than $200. Designed to provide the ultimate gameplay experience, the system gives consumers the option to play all of the Sega's extensive library of 16 and 32-bit video games, without having to purchase the two systems separately. This 2-in-1 package utilises the same raw power as the Genesis and 32X adapter. In addition, the Sega CD consumers can play all the Sega CD titles, making the Genesis 32X system the first and only 16 and 32-bit plus CD video game platform on the market. The Genesis 32X system will ship early next fall. Okay, to be fair, this article makes the system sound slightly more appetizing. I certainly remember not liking the idea of not being able to play Super Nintendo games on my future Ultra 64 system. So the idea of being able to play both 16 and 32-bit games on the same platform doesn't look that ludicrous really, and I think it probably would have piqued my curiosity if I had grown up a Sega kid instead. This system remained more than just an abstract concept, and a prototype of the system was even made. However, by the time a prototype came out, the Sega Saturn was ready for release. Sega felt that gamers would now not be interested in the Sega Neptune if it had been released, so the project was scrapped altogether. Had the Neptune have seen a launch though, it would have been reportedly ready for late 1995 to coincide with the release of the 32X version of Virtua Fighter, which could have even been potentially bundled with the platform. The world went quiet on the Sega Neptune front for quite some time. However, in 2001, gaming magazine Electronic Gaming Monthly announced that prototype copies of the Neptune had been found at a warehouse and were up for sale to the public. Sadly though, this turned out to be no more than a dirty April Fool's joke. However, it put the Sega Neptune back in the spotlight, at the very least. Despite this incident being clearly a hoax, the Sega Neptune prototypes are a very real thing. A Sega Neptune would make it out into the wilderness eventually. The prototype is thought to have been leaked by a former Sega of America employee known as Clint Dyer, who is inferred to have shadily sold a few Mega Drive and Mega CD prototype games in the past too. This list of cancelled Sega goodness also included Sonic Crackers, an unreleased Sonic game featuring both Sonic and Tails. Some people in the past have identified this game as Sonic the Hedgehog 4, however in reality it is just a prototype of Knuckles Chaotix instead, which is very cool nonetheless. There are no numbers available online that state how many of these were exactly made, but there is certainly one system that currently belongs to the Video Game History Museum, and they have brought the system along to events such as E3 and the Classic Gaming Expo. The Neptune story doesn't end here though, as the Sega Neptune to this day lives on in the heart of fans. Some people in internet land have even gone to the extreme efforts of building their own. This is achieved by fusing the Sega Mega Drive 2 and the Sega 32X into one piece of hardware. This is obviously way beyond my capabilities, however if someone fancies building me one of these and sending it to me to the show, I would be more than grateful. Who knows, I may even grant you a knighthood, yeah. Anyway, that's what I could find for you on the Sega Neptune. Thank you for watching today's video. Have you got any more information on the Sega Neptune that was not included in this video? Let us know in the comment section what you know about the system. Which cancelled consoles would you like to hear me cover on this channel as well? Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to see more in-depth content just like this on the channel every single week. Also, if you fancy a chat one evening, I stream live on Twitch at 9 PM GMT every Saturday night. Come say hello, as the streams are still small enough for me to be able to interact with everyone. Give us a follow over there now. I would also like to give a massive thank you to my Patreon supporters. Your donations motivate me to continue to churn out in-depth content just like this at an extremely quick pace. Shoutouts to Cole Johnson, Shizuka Kobayashi, Richard Clark, Greg Hooper, Sint Spacies, Kevin Fahili, David Mountford, Andrew B. Zansky, Athanas Garcia, Edward O'Reilly, Peter Dawn, Retail Archaeology, Law Reloaded, and all of my other lovely patrons. You are really the best group of people on the bloody planet. Yeah! Cheerio!